Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Odyssey House Journals, one of the most watched and listened to podcasts dealing with addiction and recovery. And you can watch us on our YouTube channel. Just Google Odyssey House Journals, and I guess you can find it. And we're available on a bunch of podcast services like Spotify or iHeart or anything like that, anywhere you find podcasts. So we thank you for watching and listening. I'm Randall Carlisle, your host, my co-host, Nicole Slack, and our guest today is Bethany Griggs, who is a fine example of the fact if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah.
And then if you don't succeed, try again, right?
Yeah.
And I met you, I've worked at Odyssey for 6 years, and I met you a number of years ago. You were telling me this is your, which time through?
It's my third time back, my fourth house, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
And you know, we talk about it a lot when you talk to people who have addicted loved ones, especially like parents and stuff like that. They hear, oh, they're in a treatment program. The problem's over, right?
Yeah. Only for a minute, you know, sometimes.
Why does, a lot of people ask, why does it take, I think there's a national average of like 7 treatment centers before you find long-term recovery. Why does it take so long?
I honestly feel like it takes so long because every time you go, you learn a little bit of something to add to the last time, you know? You learn something, you may not get it all the way right, but you got something to like store away for when you go the next time, and then it just keeps adding up, and then finally the last time you just put all that together and hopefully make it work.
Did you, you left against clinical advice the times you were in Odyssey before.
Yes.
Did you, even so you must have been unhappy, right? Or why did you leave?
Honestly, I just wasn't ready. Like, it was easy for me to leave. This time, even though as much as I've been through in the house, because I've been through a lot of interventions, you know, I'm just ready this time and I'm over it. I'm done living that way. And so it made it a lot easier to stay. The other time, it just took one bad thing to give me a reason to leave because I just wasn't ready to be done, I guess.
So you're pissed off, basically, and so you leave because of something that happened. But you still believe you picked up something from each stint in the program, even if you leave angry.
Yeah. I've learned a little bit here and there, and then when I came back this time, I felt like I was completely ready with a lot of the tools already, and this time around, they just taught me how to use them correctly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But the question everybody asks is, what makes you ready now? I mean, why after all this time, you've gone through a lot of crap in your life, right? Mm-hmm. So why all of a sudden are you ready?
You know, for myself first and foremost, but also my youngest daughter and, you know, my sister. I'm sick of putting my family through it. That life gets really, really exhausting. And I'm sick of going in and out of jail. I don't want to go to prison. I'm trying everything to stay out of it. And, you know, I don't know what fully makes me ready. It's just different this time. I can tell I've grown a lot more, and I've learned what I do and what I don't want in life. When I first started, my program was really, really rocky. I've had 10 boarders, 2 behavior contracts. And
was this on your last
this
stint?
one at this time? Yeah. And now I'm house soup. So it's crazy how it all just turns around. And I learned a lot from each intervention, but I stuck it through. My resiliency and persistence of wanting it showed through. And that's when I'm finally at the top and almost out. And it's been a pretty awesome, you know.
But Nicole, maybe you could, for people watching or listening to this, Odyssey has its own lingo, border, intervention. Explain those?
So interventions are any time that you're held accountable to something. It's whatever they feel will help you learn how to do better. So you get an intervention. I'm trying to think of a quick intervention, like you speak and you say something that maybe you're not supposed to, or use words you're not supposed to. They'll sit you down and say, okay, so what will help you to learn that we don't speak like that? And then you do the intervention. Borders are, there's 5 house rules that you cannot break without a border. So the border is, it can be a reason to terminate the client and ask them to leave to exit them. Or you can do 21 hours of community service and fill out a BCA is what they call it. It's a form that like puts you put yourself in the cycle of what led you to making this bad mistake. Like typically it's a vape. People will bring a vape into the house. They're not allowed. They can ask you to leave the program for bringing in contraband. Instead, you can do your 21 hours of community service and then fill out this form of like what got you to get the vape, use the vape, hide the vape, the whole thing. And so, yeah, and a lot of people, when they get a border, they're just like, no, thank you, and goodbye. They go, vodka.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Did you think at all with what you've gone through this time of leaving again?
I did. I had to go through something they call a case conference and get on a behavior contract, which is really hard stipulation. After that, I can't break any rules whatsoever. And
If you get any
violation
at all in 30 days,
You're terminated. And so I thought about it then, but I made it through my contract, and then I got in trouble again, and I got more orders, and now I'm on a permanent contract until I leave. But
So you got to be a good girl.
I do, and I'm doing it, and it doesn't really bug me now because I don't have anything to worry about. I've actually been doing really good after the 10th one. They should have kicked me out, but they gave me another chance, and I kind of feel like I owe it not only to myself but to staff to show that they made the right decision by keeping me. So it really keeps me going in the right direction and doing the right thing, because the staff at my house they went out on a limb for me, and they took a bet, and I want to show them that they made the right decision. So it makes it easy for me to stay good now.
Let's talk a little about your past. When did you start using? What were you using? What kind of run-ins did you have with criminal justice?
Okay, so I started using meth when I was 9 years old.
What?
Yeah, meth and alcohol when I was 9.
How at 9? What are you in?
Sixth grade, about like fifth, sixth
Be
grade.
earlier than that. But
Yeah.
okay, how'd you come across
Just
meth?
hanging out with older people, hanging out with the wrong crowd, tried to fit in, doing what they were doing. And I can't say it was like consistently from then on up, but I did start it then. And then junior high, I started doing a lot of ecstasy, acid, mushrooms, like anything and everything. Everybody was doing it at parties. I was doing. And then when I got in my 20s is when I started doing heroin after I had my 4th child. So I started doing heroin and opiates, or heroin and meth constantly from then until now. Like about,
How many years?
I don't even know. I can't even count. It's been so long. I can't remember life without drugs, honestly. That's what makes it so weird being sober for me. I've never had a sober stint unless I was in treatment center, but once I've left, I instantly went back to using. I can't even say I was sober in jail because nobody's really sober in jail. Yeah, I've never had a long stint of sobriety, so I don't really know what life is like sober. So that's what's been really cool about this time, is trying to learn things that I like. I didn't even know I had hobbies or that I liked things until coming here, so it was kind of cool. I've been using for a really long time.
Are you nervous to leave?
Yeah, really nervous. I think a lot of my interventions were, some of the staff doesn't believe in my house, but self-sabotage, because I was so scared to leave. I would go out and I'd go to places like North Temple or 13th South and see the people. I'd come back and I'd be so freaked out, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this, because they're all trying to talk to me and, get me to come hang out, and it made it really, really hard. But I think after talking to a few people, I just learned I got a really good sober support network now. So,
Are you going into sober living and doing IOP?
yeah, I'm voyaging out of the
Oh,
house.
it's a GOP. Good for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so is this the longest you've been sober?
Yes, in my whole adult life, yeah.
For people who don't understand, compare being high or using all the time compared to being sober.
It's hard to compare.
It's a difficult thing, but what I like that you said, you're noticing things more and you're finding things that you like that you never
Yeah.
you never thought about before.
Honestly, laughing is the biggest thing. I don't think I ever laughed when I was using, ever. Like maybe giggled or chuckled, but like honestly, laughing is like the best thing I think I've noticed since I've been sober. the emotions are kind of hard to handle because when you're using, you're pretty much emotionless. You don't have any.
Right.
But yeah, getting sober, I'd have to say laughing is probably by far my favorite thing.
I was worried. I mean, my problem, because I always equated drinking with fun. So like at parties and bars and stuff like that. And I don't think I was ever sober in situations like that. And I found it very hard at first to be around other people who are drinking or using and are laughing and seemingly having a good time. And you're sitting there saying,
It's not as funny then. Yeah, that's my big thing. Like when I started using at 9, it was to fit in and fill. I never really felt like I fit in anywhere or that I had a spot or that I was going to be liked by anybody. So I used because it made it easier. If they didn't like me and they did reject me, then I didn't care. But if I did what they were doing, then maybe they would like me and talk to me and I'd fit in somewhere, you know? Sure. So that was the stipulations of me being able to go out, was being high, or else I couldn't interact. I'm a super shy person. Like, even being right here is really hard for me, you know?
Is it?
I'm very shy. I usually use and stuff in order to get, like, the courage to get up and start talking to people. But I don't know, I guess since I've been in Odyssey, I found my voice. They help you, I don't know, learn how to speak up for yourself and have boundaries and say what you do and you don't like. And I don't know, just decide if I want to be part of that crowd. Maybe they're having fun, but that's not the type of people I want to be around anymore, you know? So.
And I think that like when you're doing all the right things, speaking up for yourself and all that comes so much easier.
Oh, it does. Because at first when I was going through it and I was doing all the wrong things, like I couldn't say anything, you know, I had no right to. And I was like, if I did, it's just going to come back and backfire on me. So yeah, the house got really sick, and so did I for a minute there with like full of just knowing stuff. But once you finally clean it up, it's a pretty good feeling.
Must be weird seeing the world through a clear head and clear eyes after not for so many years.
It is. I didn't notice the difference though, because I didn't know any different. But now that I do it's way different.
What do you notice now that you never did?
Honestly, I notice pretty much everything, because when you're out there like running and doing whatever, you only see the people that you see that you're looking for. You only see the ugly, the sad, the depressing. Like, it's never a fun time like people make it out to be. There's nothing fun about living that way or being out there like that. And so I just noticed, honestly, I don't know, just the fun things in life, I guess. And I know it's going to be hard, but I don't know how to explain it.
No, the reason I ask is because when I first got sober, I started noticing, small stuff like the color of leaves or a pretty flower or something that I just never bothered to think about or look at.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because now that I know that's what you're looking for, we were walking to one day, I can't remember what we were doing, going to a park or something, to play baseball. And we started noticing all this weird stuff. And I was like, isn't it crazy that, like, I noticed a little caterpillar on this little branch. I was like, I would have never noticed that before, because I was looking for something totally, completely different. So it's really cool when you open your eyes and you see there's so much more to the world. Or like going out and smelling the flowers. I've never even noticed that before. I didn't know that was a thing. People talk about it, but I never experienced it until walking outside my house the other day. It's just, everything is just brighter and more, I don't know, hopeful, I guess, when you're sober.
It's going from black and white TV to high definition color.
Pretty much, right? Yeah.
I ask almost everybody, when you're in active addiction, are you happy?
Absolutely not.
Then why do it?
Exactly. Nobody knows. I don't think there's a real answer for that. Then maybe they just like using the drug, chasing the drug. A lot of people are just addicted to the lifestyle, not even the drug half the time, you know? I don't know what's so appealing about it, because it really isn't that fun, but it really is hard to stop, that's for sure.
And you don't want to be sick.
That's another one, yeah. When you're an opiate addict, the thought of being sick is like your biggest fear.
Describe dope sickness for people who have never been through it or seen anything.
I don't know if you can explain it. It's like the flu times 1,000. And then when you are an opiate addict and you get the regular cold, you automatically chalk it up to, oh, I'm dope sick. There's no such other sickness in your world but that. But it's just like the flu. But
a million times worse.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now that I don't have to deal with that anymore, it's probably The first time I woke up and I wasn't on maintenance and wasn't on dope, I cried when I wasn't sick because I was so happy because it'd been so long. I never thought I would live to see that day. I thought I'd always be on Suboxone or methadone. For my whole life, I was like, I'm never going to be able to get off of it. But the first day I woke up and I wasn't on any of it, I just started bawling. I was so happy.
Did you get off Matt in the house?
No, I got off in jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you chose to.
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt like waking up. Some people, it helps them a lot.
Sure.
But to me, I just felt like it was keeping me in my cycle that I didn't want to no longer be a part of.
So describe to me what life as an addict, and you were ingesting both meth and heroin, what it's like every day. You wake up and you do what?
The first thing you do is get your fix so you're not sick and do your meth so you can wake up, and it's constant. And half the time you can't even go to sleep because you're worried if you don't have it, you're going to need it. So it's a vicious cycle of constantly relying on one substance or two substances that is honestly never ending. Your life consists of nothing more but trying to find it, chase it, get it.
And that takes precedence over everything.
Over everything.
Including kids.
Took precedence over my kids, yep.
What did you, one of the times I met you, you were in our parents program and you had...
My son, William.
And did you have your children taken away or?
No, my oldest 4 are with their dad. So yeah, pretty much. And then William, who I had at the house, is with his dad. And then I have my son, Daisy. My sister has her but while I'm in the house, but I still have her.
And how's your relationship with all of them?
My oldest kids, I don't even talk to. Their dad actually just started talking to me this time in treatment, the other day, actually, to say he was proud of me and he heard I was doing good. And I haven't heard from him in 6 years, so that is a pretty good feeling and a good reason to know I'm on the right track. And William, I'm actually going through the law offices at Matheson to try and work on getting visitation with him. So right now, I don't have a relationship with any of the older 5, but my youngest I do. I see her every weekend. Her birthday was yesterday, so I get to go celebrate that with her this weekend. But it's just, now that I'm doing all the right things are coming back to me, and it's really cool. It might take a minute for my oldest to want to talk to me because they're 17, 15, 14. So that decision is going to be up to them. But, yeah. And I don't blame them, if they don't, because essentially I did choose drugs over my life with my kids and my husband and my family, and that would be hard for, I think, any kid to come to terms with. So I respect their decision on wherever they're at.
That's such a hard thing for people who don't understand addiction to understand, is how could you, because I facilitate a family support group, and a lot of them say stuff like, they have a son or an adult son or daughter who have had their kids taken away from them because of their addiction. And they don't, so I'm sure there are people watching who don't understand addiction but are interested in it. Understand, how could you choose something like a drug over a human being?
So I think at first, when you're doing it, you're not looking at it as in those terms. You're just like, oh, when they first get taken, of course, you blame everybody but yourself. You're like, oh, it wasn't me.
Right.
And then I think once it does happen, the reality sets in, and then you hate yourself so much that you allowed it to happen. You didn't do anything about it. So you just continue to keep yourself using because it's the only way you can deal with the fact it eats you alive, honestly. And so I think that's where it comes in. You just keep yourself sick. It's the only way you can handle the fact because you made that decision. And I can't say why we make it and why we do it, but I think it's because we always feel like it's not going to go that route. It's never going to end up where they're going to be gone. But then when it finally happens, the only way you can live with yourself is really just to get high because you really don't want to live with yourself anymore.
One of the keys in what you're describing is because when you keep up doing stuff like that, you really feel more shame and guilt and you hate yourself more and more,
yes.
But you keep doing it. And so one of the keys to recovery that I've found, and I don't know if you have as well, is learning to love yourself. Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at right now this time. Like every other time I've left, it's been because of a ex-husband or a boyfriend or something. I'm super codependent, or I used to be. And that's what the difference about it being in this part time in Odyssey. I love myself and I know my worth and I'm not going to settle for anything less, you know? And I think that's what's helped me through the program this time, not having comfortability with people in the house because that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I need. And I've just really learned to focus on myself and loving the person that I'm becoming, because I didn't even know when I started drugs, I wasn't even a person, you know, I was a kid. And so I didn't know who I was, but it's been really cool trying to figuring that out and loving me for who I actually am, because I'm not that bad of a person now that I sit down and look at it.
It's like being born again almost.
It really is.
You know, did you feel that way when you finally succeeded in treatment?
Yeah, I think you have to do an assignment on your core values, and mine were I'm not lovable, I'm not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And just that's how I felt. And just to come to the other side of that, which took a long time, but
Well, you went all the way from planning your suicide and being pissed off that it failed to going through treatment and sobriety and now working at Odyssey House. So
Yeah.
that's a big metamorphosis.
yeah, it took a lot of work.
But it has to do with loving yourself.
It starts with that, because I think you explained it so well. Like, you make these decisions and then you hate yourself for it. Because a lot of people would tell me, like, just stop and why don't you care? And I'm like, I think I just care so much that it's easier to not face it. So when you start to love yourself, then you're okay with, you know, your children making their own decisions about, you know, what happened. And you just have to be okay with yourself to start that whole process, because you're just hiding the whole time. That's all I was doing, was hiding from everyone.
And every time this is a way where you resonated with me saying you blame everyone else. I mean, nothing was ever my fault.
Nope.
But now I take blame for all my 4 wrecked marriages and stuff like that. But then the last time I relapsed, it was like, but something in my brain told me I shouldn't, but maybe I could. And then after I did, it's like, well, I screwed up, so I might as well keep screwing up for a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
And then that little while ends up into forever, you know, and the next thing you know, you're 2 years back into a relapse, and that's
Yeah.
all bad.
and it's pretty much the same. I think no matter what substance you're addicted to, is people go through those same thoughts and feelings. And one of the keys, and I'm not trying to promote Odyssey, but I think one of the keys is they try to bore down into why you were using. I mean, it's presumed you're not using while you're at Odyssey.
Yeah.
Which is true most of the time.
Yes.
You know, so, but then why were you using? And that's such a difficult question to answer, you know.
It really is. And like I said, mine, I feel like it just goes back into being uncomfortable as a kid. And instead of going through those emotions as a kid, like being uncomfortable, out of place and all that stuff, like most kids experience, I took the easy way out and I decided to numb it and do something else about it.
That must have been a tough crowd you were hanging around when you were 9.
Sure was.
Where did you grow up in Salt Lake?
Yeah,
Where?
in Taylorsville. I went to Valley Junior High. That's where it was. And it pretty much, I can say everybody that went to the school with me is either an addict, was an addict, has passed away because of drugs, or...
Really?
Yeah.
In junior high?
Mm-hmm.
People watching probably going, oh, my God, I wonder if my kid who's going to junior high is exposed to that. Is that fairly true at
Yeah.
all junior highs?
No, yeah, definitely. I think back when I was there is when it first started. Like I said, it was mainly alcohol, meth, psychedelics and stuff. Heroin I didn't really know much about until I got older, but nowadays I feel like it's everywhere.
Who sells to kids at junior high level? Other kids or?
No, I don't know. I was hanging out with older people that went to the school, but I don't know if they had brothers or what. I don't know who does, but people do.
I have a friend that I met in treatment that was suspended for selling, and he got caught with half a pound of marijuana in 6th grade.
Yeah.
I met one kid several years ago who his dad was a dealer, and when he was in 6th grade, his dad gave him some joints to sell in 6th grade, And if he'd come home and he hadn't sold anything, his dad would beat him. And if he sold something, his dad would praise him, saying, "Wow, kid, you were so great today." And that's a hell of a way to grow up when you're in sixth grade.
Right.
So it does start young. I wonder well, you've had the negative side of things. At what age should you start talking to kids about drugs?
I don't know. I feel like the younger, the better, honestly, at this point. They used to do the DARE program in elementary. Remember that? I was part of that, too. Obviously didn't work, but you never know. I honestly think it should start as young as possible, definitely in junior high, because that's when people start trying to want to fit in and people go to parties, and that's when everything happens.
So what do you see as your future?
Oh, man. I don't
Because I think you have a
know.
bright one because you've gone through so much.
Yeah. I don't know. I've actually been talking to a lot of the people at my house about it, like what I plan on doing. But all I know is I'm just going to get into my Voyager group. I am going to go to USARA and try and get my peer support specialist license and go work somewhere in recovery. Since all I know is drugs and using, I feel like I need to stay connected, I think, more than most, because I don't have a lot of people on the other side unless they're in the recovery community, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like, I have a sister that supports me, that's there for me. But other than that, friends, everybody I've known for the last 20 years is used. They get high. They sell drugs. So I think staying connected is going to be my number one thing, and just hopefully work in the recovery field. I feel like I have a lot to offer. I already do a lot at the house as much as I can to help the new people coming in. And yeah.
And I believe that it's a lot easier to learn from somebody who has been there, done that, as opposed to somebody who read about being there doing that.
Yeah, that used to irritate me, I think, more than anything. They'll be like, "Oh, we know how you feel." No, you don't.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
And it sucks that we feel that way, but that's just the way it is. We learn a lot more from people's personal experience and their outlook on it, since they know exactly what we're talking about. Because you can explain addiction all day long to somebody, but unless you've been there, you can never fully understand it, like, at all.
Yeah, it says in this book here that this is the reason why you went through this. Or I've been there, done that, and I'm talking to you about it. It does make a difference.
Oh, yeah, because, like, in the house, you realize so many different people from so many, like, walks of life are stuck in addiction, Some people had great childhoods, some people had terrible ones. And I don't really think you can actually just sit down and pinpoint why somebody starts using, honestly. I really don't. But I think we can get as close as we want, but I don't think you can actually just figure it out.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts and feelings, even though you're insecure and even though you're sober now. In the old days, you would have gotten high before doing this.
Yes.
Right? Thank you. I mean, because you have a valuable, you're a great example of how complicated this disease is and how much hard work it takes to beat the disease. And it's something you're going to have to deal, we all, Nicole, me, we all have to deal with for the rest of our lives, because it's not going to go away. You don't cure it, but you control it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. It's been hard, but yeah, it's been worth it. It's been a long road in Odyssey and out there, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've learned a lot.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you again, Nicole.
You too.
And thank you. I hope you got something out of the latest edition of Odyssey House Journals.